Hello students, this is Miss Mishu, and this is your identity theft lesson. Objectives. Students will be able to identify different ways people commit identity theft or consumer fraud, identify ways to prevent identity theft, and list steps you should follow if you have been a victim of identity theft. So here's a movie trailer of Identity Thief with Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy. I thought it'd be kind of a fun way just to kind of start this lesson off.
Just go.
I think we just need a little music. My milkshake brings all the boys to the heart. My life is better than yours. My life is better than yours. My milkshake brings all the boys to the heart. My life is better than yours. 100 miles an hour would walk 500 more just to be the man that walks 500 miles to rock down. You got wake up something fresh. You like it the now ooh,
So in this movie, Melissa steals Jesse Bateman's identity, and it's kind of this particular scene I found very humorous. Okay, so let's first talk about what is identity theft, and I'll show you this video that will give you some background information.
What is identity theft? Identity theft affects millions of people each year around the world. Crafty fraudsters can steal identities in a number of ways. Some fraudsters commit identity theft by stealing physical information. They do so by dumpster diving, stealing mail, or taking discarded devices like computers, printers, or phones that have not had their hard drives wiped. Sometimes they rely on social engineering, which is when the fraudster manipulates or tricks a victim into giving up information. A common form of this is phishing, where a fraudster impersonates a trusted individual or entity and asks the victim for sensitive info. Identities can also be stolen through high-tech means like malware or data breaches, where hackers target large organizations and steal the information of multitudes of employees or customers. Information stolen through data breaches is often sold on illegal trading websites. With many different avenues to grab your information, how can you protect yourself? Make sure that all documents containing any personal identifiable information are shredded before disposing them. If you or your organization is getting rid of electronics, make sure all hard drives are wiped or rendered unreadable before disposing, reselling, or donating them. Never send personal information via email. Reputable organizations will never ask for this. If you receive a phone call asking for information, ask to call them back. Find their official phone number online and call that number back to verify the claim. Avoid using unsecured public Wi-Fi networks where hackers can be lurking. Check your billing statements and credit reports regularly to spot any suspicious activity. If you or someone you know does become a victim of identity theft, freeze any affected financial accounts. Check and freeze your credit report. File a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission if in the U.S. Report the incident to your local authorities. For more information on fraud like identity theft, visit acfe.com.
So there is an overview of identity theft, and to dive into an identity thief's mind a little bit, here is a segment from 60 Minutes.
There's one thing we all have that no one else does, and it's undoubtedly the most valuable thing you own, your identity. Lose it to a thief and you'll quickly realize it's worth more than you think. And it's a crime striking more of us, at least 1,000 people last year. Thieves stealing names, bank details, online lives, profiting from the very essence of who you are. Ask John Cilio, a leading American authority on identity theft.
I'm incredibly concerned, and I guess that's part of what I'm doing in New Zealand, is I want you to be able to see the mistakes that I've made. Right here. Cell phone, that's what I go for first.
Really? Why?
I'll tell you that in a minute.
His advice is more than just theoretical. Cilio gives me a very practical tutorial on how vulnerable I am, how vulnerable we all are, to identity thieves.
You've got a Food Town card. I can get some information from them, an AA card. Driver's license, definitely going to need that later.
We'll see later on just how easily he could work it if he wanted to rip me off. He knows how because he's been on the other side, having his identity stolen twice, victim of the global underground industry which is flourishing on the internet. Through dodgy online forums like these, his details ended up in the hands of a woman who racked up $240,000 worth of debt in his good name. The whole experience led him to throw in IT and make the study of identity fraud a career. He's now in Dunedin to write his third book on the subject.
Essentially, I spent 2 years fighting to stay out of jail. But what really impacts you is the emotional side of it. For me, it was, I spent 2 years not at home, not present for my family, not tending to my business, which eventually died. And that's, identity is not just about numbers. It's about who we are, and it can completely redefine who you are.
Identity theft is fast becoming the crime of our times. They say an identity is stolen online worldwide once every 3 seconds. And in the age of social networking, we've made it so much easier for the criminal than ever before.
So I just went through to see.
John Cilio shows us just how much information we readily release about ourselves and how easy it is for someone to exploit it. He goes onto Facebook and picks out a New Zealand student at random, one who's left far too much of her site unprotected.
We know she's a female. We know her full name. We know her parents' names and their profiles.
Yeah.
We know that she's single.
Which will be interesting to some people looking at her site.
Yeah, unfortunately, to people with bad intentions,
And here's where what he calls social engineering comes in. Fraudsters or con artists, stalkers even, who want to target you, invest time getting to know who you are, what makes you tick.
I can get a sense of, okay, I know who her idol is. I know the way that she speaks to her friends. And when I write and try and friend her, I'm going to use the same language. I'm going to use her friends' names. They're all listed over here. I'm going to say I'm a friend of, Lisa's.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak in the same language, and I'm going to refer to a common event that's on her update page, her wall.
So we decided to think like a criminal. Remember, we don't know Grace. We've never met her. But we wondered, how close can we get to her using only the information she puts on Facebook? Like so many of the 400 million Facebook users, Grace posts frequently and openly about herself, what she thinks, where and what she studies, her favourite places to drink, what she likes to drink, where she works part-time, and sometimes even the days and hours she's working. If someone wanted to find her, she's made it incredibly easy for them. And so it proves. We spot her on our first attempt to find her in person. Here she is at work, on the night, and in the restaurant she said she would be on her Facebook profile. Time for us to meet her. You're Grace, right? Yeah. You're a journalism student, yeah? And it's so nice to finally meet you, because I feel like I know so much about you. Oh, really? Yeah, I know. That kind of sounds a little bit weird, doesn't it? Yeah, because I've been reading your Facebook page a little bit lately. We explained we're not actual stalkers. There is a valid reason for our interest. It's about proving a point, I suppose, to the public about the idea of privacy. Yeah, what do you reckon? Crazy, I know. But you don't need to be a Facebook or Twitter user to be a target. John Cilio says we carry around so much information, happily divulging it to the point we might as well have it on public display. It's a potential jackpot for criminals who know there's no specific charge for identity theft, only for the crimes it leads to. So releasing even the most fundamental personal information can leave you exposed, which is why John Cilio pretty much never tells anyone anything. What is your date of birth?
I don't share that.
What about your children? What information do you feel protective about with them?
I rarely give out even their ages, not necessarily because I'm concerned about that specifically, but because it sends a message of, have you ever thought about, do you give your kids information? Birth dates? No way. The amount I could do with a birth date and that child's name and knowing where they're born, I could cultivate their credit line and utilize that credit line for years, and they'd never know it because they don't go for credit until they're 16 or 18 and they're getting their first apartment.
And when they do,
there's nothing there. They have nothing.
It can, of course, be so much simpler. Remember, Cilio has been rifling through my bag? Without even necessarily stealing it, he already has enough information to begin manipulating me. First up, he got my number off my phone. He says he'd ring, pretending to be from the bank, telling me my account's being used suspiciously, but reassuring me they'll make it safe.
I say, excellent, there's no problem. We're going to help you shut it down. Here's additional information I've got on you. The only thing I need to shut it down is I need to verify your full name and your PIN number. That way we can shut it down before there's any liability on your part.
But I think that I know enough about this kind of thing to not reveal my PIN number.
Right. And we all think that. And believe it or not, more than 90% of people who think that they would not give that information away when they're in the heat of the moment and they're being socially engineered, they give it away like that.
Because you've said the right things to make me feel like I trust you.
Exactly.
You're official enough for me
and
to
I can build up more trust. I know more about you than the bank, than your specific bank does.
Because you've seen what else.
Because I've seen everything in your bag.
Yeah.
So I can really work the situation.
Is this a typical woman's handbag, or am I carrying around way too much information about myself?
Yes and yes. It is typical. I think the average woman carries 20 to 30 pieces of identity, and yes, you should be carrying around far less. What you don't. If he'd taken the easy route and just stolen my wallet, he'd simply go online and max out my credit. Surely he couldn't get away with just going into a shop and buying something with my credit card. Or could he? How you doing? Good. I need a moderate range price Pinot Noir, a Tago. He has the conman's gift of the gab. He's relaxed and chatty. The retailer is put at ease.
You've got your girlfriend's card, Nick. It's full of.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can't possibly be that simple. Forging my signature, even though the shop assistant knew it wasn't his card. So you have a bottle of wine?
I do.
How did you pay for it?
Yours?
My credit card.
Your credit card.
That is astonishing. The first shop we try.
Yeah.
Amazing.
First one.
Yeah. If he ever wanted to switch sides, he could probably make a killing. Instead, the hunted has now become the hunter, sussing out the psyche of identity thieves, so he can warn the rest of us, make us a little more savvy to how we too can fall prey.
So some very insightful information there on identity theft. And one more video I'd like to share with you deals with Porch Pirates, which is becoming more and more common these days.
Shame on you. Trouble when you walked in. Taylor Swift. Some police departments are trying new methods to catch criminals known as porch pirates, is what they call them. These alleged thieves sneak into yards and steal packages left on doorsteps. Reports show at least 23 million Americans have fallen victim to the crime, and some officers are now turning to technology for help. But critics say that raises privacy concerns. Maria Villarreal is on a porch, a real-life porch near Los Angeles. Maria, good morning.
Good morning. These mounted security cameras can catch the crime and sometimes the criminal, but that doesn't always happen. That's why police are making their own deliveries, using bait packages with GPS trackers inside so they can find the thief and arrest him. In Pittsburgh, Houston, and Los Angeles, these alleged porch pirates are quick and brazen. In Campbell, California, homeowner Terry Boland's security cameras caught this man approaching his porch before apparently making off with his delivery.
It's one of those things that like this one you go through.
That motivated him to work with his local police department, who now uses his porch to drop off bait packages, hoping to lure criminals. Inside a regular shipping box, officers pack a common delivery item along with a GPS tracking device. They want to keep that under wraps so criminals don't know what to look for.
We found that a lot of times these thieves are opening up the boxes before they even leave to make sure it's something that they want.
So these thieves are actually getting picky.
They are getting picky.
The programs have been a success in several cities across the country. In Southern California, Arcadia police say more than 100 suspected thieves have taken the bait. The tactic also raised concerns after a stolen bait package led to a high-speed chase and officers swarming a movie theater to make an arrest. While experts say these operations are legal, some say they should be regulated by court order or warrant.
Citizens absolutely should be concerned about tracking technologies and law enforcement's unfettered access to tracking technologies.
Another concern, some departments deliberately putting higher priced items in the bait packages, which could result in a felony conviction.
Bumping up the value of what's in the boxes could raise some concerns from the point of view of fairness and due process.
There are critics out there that will say, you are trying to trap these thieves into a bigger crime. Is that what's happening here?
This is about us identifying a trend that's happening not only in Campbell, but throughout the country. And it's really a way for us to work with our community.
It's a sentiment shared by many homeowners.
I feel all for the program. You should feel safe and comfortable, not only in your home, but in your neighborhood.
To avoid being a victim, police say have your packages delivered somewhere where someone can receive them in person, so maybe your work or a neighbor's home. They also suggest installing security cameras like this Ring doorbell. That way you can deter thieves altogether.
An important reminder, cameras everywhere. Maria, thank you.
So a little bit of information on Porch Pirates. Okay, so let's go over the identity theft sheet and fill this in. This sheet can be found in Google Classroom under classwork. Pause this as needed. So number one, theft that occurs when an individual without permission uses your identifying information for his or her personal gain. That is identity theft. Number two, tactic used when an identity thief poses as an employee of a company with which you conduct business to solicit your personal information. That is pretexting. Number three, similar to phishing, but targeted to larger audiences. Tactic that directs users to bogus websites to collect their personal information. That is referred to as pharming. P-H-A-R-M-I-N-G. Number four, tactic used when pretexting happens online. That is phishing, also with a PH. Number five, tactic used when an identity thief stands close to you in a public place and reads the number on your credit card as you conduct business. Shoulder surfing. Number 6, tactic used when an identity thief goes through your trash for discarded items that reveals personal information that can be used for fraudulent purposes. That's dumpster diving. Yes, that's a real thing. Make sure that you shred that important paperwork. Okay? Number 7, tactic used when a store employee steals your credit card number by copying the information contained in the magnetic strip on the card. This can also occur and does at gas station, fill-up stations. So people actually insert something in there in order to skim your information. So that's called skimming. Number 8, list 10 preventative measures to protect yourself from identity theft. So what can you do to kind of prevent this from happening? Number 1, destroy private records and statements. Tear up or shred, preferably shred, credit card statements, solicitations, and other documents that contain private financial information. This is very important to safeguard your records. 2, secure your mail. Empty your mailbox quickly. Lock it or get a P.O. box so criminals don't have a chance to snatch credit card pitches. Never mail outgoing bills and checks from home. They can be stolen from the mailbox and the payee's name erased with solvents. So secure your mail, and secure your mail if you're actually going away somewhere too. If you're going on vacation, tell the post office office to stop it and just hold it for you, or maybe ask somebody you trust, like a neighbor, pick it up. Safeguard your social security number, so never give that away. You should, by the way, know what your social security number is. Number 4, don't leave a paper trail. So don't leave those ATM receipts and stuff behind, credit card receipts. All right, you're much better off being safe than sorry. Number 5, never leave your credit card out of your sight. Okay, know where it is at all times. Know who you're dealing with, okay? If somebody calls up and asks for some personal data or financial data, the chances is it's a hoax, okay? So don't give out that information. Try to take your name off the marketer's hit list. So telemarketers will call in again, try to get information from you or send you junk mail. Be more defensive with your personal information. Okay, make sure that if you give it out, there's a legitimate reason, but in most situations, you will not have to give out that information. Really important, monitor your credit report. Remember, there are 3 different credit agencies and bureaus that you can get this information from, one free from each of them, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So if that looks off, and there's some things that are recorded on that, and also your credit card statements, then you want to take immediate action. And again, review your credit card and your bank statements carefully, making sure that everything is accurate. So what should you do if you think you are a victim of identity theft? Contact the company that reported the suspicious charge. Call a credit bureau, one of the 3 that we've talked about, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and then place an initial fraud alert. A fraud alert is free. It can help prevent the identity thief from opening accounts with your information. So to do this, contact one of the 3 credit bureaus and tell them to put a fraud alert on your credit file. They will then tell the other bureaus about the alert, which stays on your credit report for 90 days. After this period, you can choose to renew it if necessary. Order your credit report so to know what's on it exactly and take a look at it very, very carefully. Report it to the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. And then finally, you want to continue to monitor your credit reports. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about identity theft than before. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for listening.